Hello, everybody. I'm a little sad, but I'm also a little happy. I'm happy to join Julie Golden, Square 2 Marketing's President and Chief Creative Officer, for our last session of the Butterfly Project. And I'm a little sad because this has been a very, very exciting week where all sorts of people are popping in and giving their ideas on how to transform your company from the ugly caterpillar to the beautiful butterfly. And I hope you really got some great value out of the work that our team did. Also want to give a big shout out to the entire staff at Square 2 who put together this content week, and really hope that we can help some people out there that really need to grow their business. So thank you very much. Let's dive right in. On our fifth and final day, we're going to use the Butterfly Project to talk about using digital to grow revenue from current clients. And that's really important because when typically clients come to us, they want to talk about net new clients. They want to, I need new leads, I need new clients. But yet, as we all know, it's much easier to sell more to people that already love you and know you. And today we're going to talk about taking a different tact on growing revenue from looking at it through that perspective. So at this point, Julie, why don't you take us out?
Absolutely, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for that warm lead in. So quick note to the agenda. We're going to be covering a couple of areas today. We're going to be talking about developing the customers you know. We're going to dive into how to ensure that the customers you know are happy and satisfied with their experience with your company. We're going to talk a little bit about creating customer advocates, and then, of course, what you're here for, how to drive revenue with those engaged customers. So let's start with the customers that you know. It's incredibly important to talk a little bit before we dive into who they are, how we develop them, how we engage them, and how we drive revenue from them, to talk about, very importantly, why it's important to do this, because the cost of developing new customers is so much more expensive than retaining the customers you have. So there's an axiom out there that it costs 5 times more to acquire a new customer than to retain an existing one. Eric, you're in sales. You can talk to me a little bit about the costs of developing marketing campaigns, paying for paid media, paying for your marketing staff, getting those pieces out there, tracking, sourcing, handing those leads off to sales, and then maintaining a sales team to bring that revenue home. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Gosh, even from your description, Julie, it sounds expensive, with all those resources that you just outlined that you need to do in order to develop new customers. And you're absolutely right. You know, if you add all those up, you're going to have a cost per customer acquisition. Now, very few people really dive into the data, and the ones that do are typically looking at their clients on how much they're spending, but they're not looking at how much it costs to get this client in order to spend that amount of money. And I think that's really important, because when you add up all those resources, both in human terms and in marketing terms, you get a pretty sizable bill there. And if you can really still have a high ROI on those clients based on their lifetime value, great. But if you don't have a handle on it, you're flying blind and you're throwing resources to areas that might not actually get you the return you're looking for.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, if you really think about your business holistically, the ROI on onboarding new clients is certainly more expensive than the team that you already have in-house working towards maintaining and delivering success for those clients. So it's incredibly important to leverage that team and make sure that the money you're already spending to keep clients keeps them retained and reduces churn. A little bit later in the presentation, we're going to talk a little bit more about that move from retaining clients to developing advocates. It's one thing to retain a client and see them stay in the door. It's another thing entirely to develop an advocate who raises their voice to help your business grow. So, you know, as you saw on the other slide, it is not just about developing new revenue, but this idea that customer retention can increase your profits by a staggering 25 to 95%. I mean, look at that when you think about it, you're already servicing these clients. So our focus is on focusing on the people that already know like, and trust your company. Think about the time that's invested in creating marketing materials. Start sowing those seeds of trust to educate your prospects, to help them come along, to help them all the way through that cyclonic buyer journey, all the way to delivery. And you don't want to waste that well-earned capital with your clients that you've built in the last stages, because those clients have the potential to loop back into the cycle, be interested in more services and products that your company can deliver, and stay on board and drive more revenue for your company. We often suggest that, jumping ahead a little bit, this idea to identify who those biggest advocates for your company might be. Who would you talk to ensure that? You might talk to your sales team and say, who was the most excited during the sales process? Where was the most energy being developed? And of course, your client services teams, who are taking the time to build relationships and deliver on everything that your company has promised to these prospects. So again, going back to sales and client delivery teams to see who those happiest and most vocal clients are. And at the end of the process, you want to make sure that you are rewarding those advocates for helping to lift your company with their voice. If you think about it, and I'm sure you all have, when you are in a buying cycle and you see marketing and sales, or you talk to a salesperson and you hear their message from them, it's one thing and it has a certain amount of value. I'm not going to diminish it entirely. But if Eric was to say to me, hey, Julie, I just did an engagement with company A and I had the best experience. I really think you would too. That referral, that voice means so much more to me as a third party than anything you could ever say in your marketing. So let's talk about how you create those happy customers and ensure an excellent client experience all the way from marketing through sales and into delivery. It is unquestionable that the things that you create, the energy that you create with your customers during the engagement is one that people will never forget. It's how you made them feel throughout the process. Customer experience is a somewhat intangible reality. It is that internal subjective response that people have with any direct or indirect contact they have with your organization. It happens in marketing materials, from the cadence and the tone that you take during those marketing materials. It has to do with your salespeople and the connections that they make in the sales process, their cadence, their delivery, their message and tone, all of it together. It leads up to delivery and the experience that you leave clients with in the process. And let me tell you something. No one can have any doubt that those people will take that message to the world. If they have a stunning experience with your company, they're going to want to tell the world about it. And if they have a bad experience, you can be guaranteed they're going to take that message out to the world as well. And you want to be able to control that process. So in a poll from Bain & Company, 8% of customers described an experience they had with a company as superior, while 80% of companies surveyed believed that they had been delivering a truly superior experience overall. That's a pretty large gap there. And you also have to understand that there is no question that customer experience will continue to overtake price and product, as a key differentiator moving forward. It already has, it will continue to do so. Customers are telling their stories online and to their friends and colleagues, and you want to make sure that that story is a positive one. Oops. Sorry about that. So why worry about customer experience? Some companies just don't understand why they should have to worry about customer experience. They don't understand the impact it has on revenue. They won't look at it at all. Other companies collect information and quantify data, but they don't share it in their organization. Still more, measure and distribute their findings, and then they fail to put someone in charge of implementing change. And I can speak very personally to that experience as part of my role at Square 2. I engage in a a solution that helps our clients give us real-time, mid-engagement feedback loops so that we can always make sure that our clients are having the best experience possible. It's incredibly important that someone in the organization be accountable for the data that you're receiving and implementing change on it. Because measuring customer satisfaction doesn't mean you're attaining it. If you're getting all this information and doing nothing with it and not implementing any change in your organization, why even bother? Take the time to gather that information into your organization.
Julie, I have a comment if it's okay.
Oh, please go ahead.
I have a longtime buddy, and he's the general manager of a automobile dealership. And he obviously, when requested or not requested, people leave reviews of their car dealership. And a lot of them were not so nice. And he complained to me one day that nobody should be allowed to leave reviews. It's unfair to the company. And I said, I think it's actually the opposite. In those reviews are the data that people are telling you how to improve your company so that you can be better, get better word of mouth, drive more revenue. And he poo-pooed it. But to your point on this slide, that's exactly the data that was right in front of him. Some people choose not to look at it. Some people choose to look at it and ignore the implications that it has, because it's hard work to give people a great experience. But when you do that hard work, you pay for it, or you receive back in revenue many times over from referrals, repeat orders, cross-sells, upsells, and all those things that make for a rich revenue cycle.
That's really interesting. You know, this idea of putting like focusing on the reviews as the evil, right? The evil, it's not that they're bad and you're putting the cart a little bit before the horse without even realizing that your customers are already starting to give you some feedback on how to make your experience a truly remarkable one.
Sure. In one of the reviews, as a simple example, it came up a couple times that the person who greets you when you get your car serviced was crabby. So I said to him, let's replace this person. Oh no, Mary's been with us for 12 years, but everybody says she's crabby, and it's hurting you when it comes to having brand ambassadors out there saying you should go to XYZ car dealership. So, you know, finding a path to happiness for Mary, the crabby one, should be a lot easier than turning away customers that you could be, maximizing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Mary.
So, and this is really what it comes down to, right? Is listening to your customers, right? At the end of the day, if you are collecting information, whether actively like we do here at Square 2 or inactively through a review service that you have little or no control over, it's very important to listen to your customers and act accordingly. Oops, darn it. Sorry. There we go. So setting expectations on how to communicate. So this is one of the things that I started to talk about a little bit earlier. I think it's important to reiterate that trust is key, right? Trust starts all the way at the very beginning in the sales process, comes through your marketing and sales and into your delivery. And building that trust early on is important. And how do you define trust with a prospect? Eric could speak well to this. We talk about this all the time at Square 2, and it centers around defining expectations. So if a customer is going in blindly to a vague agreement or unclear expectations, they don't know what is coming, the trust might not be there as much as you'd like it to be. Not only does trust help them sign on the dotted line at the end of the day and put that contract in play, but it makes delivery for the people who have to now deliver on those expectations a lot easier, because everybody's clear on what is happening first, where we're going, what we're going to achieve with this program or this product or service, if you put it into your own world. You know, the truth of the matter is customers have a ton of choice more than ever before. And if they are not feeling comfortable moving into an agreement with your company, you're already at a negative point. And you want to make sure that that solution is clear to them and that your team is set up for success so that they can deliver an expectation on the expectations you've set in the sales process. And at the end of the day, there's no question that, what happens to client experience is what falls into the gap between expectations and delivery. You want to make sure that your clients come into the process understanding what they're going to experience, and your delivery team delivers on those expectations. So there's some thought, I'm talking about marketing and sales and conversations and relationships, but, do you really have some clear indicators, some clear understanding of what your brand is promising to the world? Understanding what that brand promise is and making sure that everyone in your organization is aligned around delivering on that brand promise, you're going to have a better experience. At Square 2, currently our focus is on creating an experience our clients will love. It's all over our marketing. It's all over our sales process. When we have internal meetings, there's always a voice at the table that reminds us all that at the end of the day, the focus is on creating experiences our clients love. So are we creating an experience they love? Do they love us? Why don't they love us? Let's dig in. Spoke plenty about setting clear expectations, documenting, delivering on those expectations, and making sure that if possible, there is a way to have a closed loop check-in process in the middle of your engagement. It may not be possible for everybody, but here at Square 2, we have made a concerted effort and put a lot of time every quarter into focusing on how our engagements are running for our clients. So we've created a closed loop check-in process, and I run that process here at Square 2, and we have made it wildly customized, right? It's important from the day one kickoff meeting, we talk about setting up client success and that we want them to love their agency. And we talk to them about how they would like to give us that feedback. We want to make sure that we don't wait till the very end milestone in their delivery to find out that, things weren't going so well. And a tiny little shift could have made all the difference in the world in terms of communication or how we're talking to them, how we're showing them things, confusion in any way, shape, or form. And we have these calls on a regular basis, whether it's weekly, monthly, quarterly. I reach out to them on a regular basis to set up a check-in. They can respond by email. We can talk on the phone, preferred. And then that information is taken back to the delivery team, to the people who deliver on client success, so that they know what they could be doing better. It is not a time where you're trying to ask anything of them other than what can we do to make your experience as good as it can be. And that really just helps us focus on constantly improving our process, constantly improving our deliverables, so our clients are incredibly happy. And one key point is to remember that experience is built on every touch point in your organization. So years ago, we had the opportunity to send a couple of our key members to the Disney marketing program, right? And I don't know if any of you have heard of the concept of experience mapping, but when you think about Disney, what do you think about? It's about the magic. It's about the magic of the delivery of any time at Disney, a Disney resort. So we engaged in an experience mapping program on our own. One of the things that we learned in the experience mapping process is that everyone can have something interesting and powerful to say about the experience that your clients or customers have with your brand. And one of the fun facts that they brought back to us was that the little doll, the little Mickey doll that sits in the hotel room, right? The doll is set on the bed originally. So one of the housekeepers, the people who do the cleaning in the resort, came up with the idea of what if Mickey was magic, and Mickey moved every day. And maybe one day he's sitting on the bed, and the next day he's looking out the window, waving goodbye to customers, because they already knew that the average stay was 3 days, and they would have Mickey waving goodbye to people, or taking a shower, or watching TV with the remote in his hands. And at the end of the day, the kids are like, Mom, Mickey's real, he's alive, and he's living in our room every day. What's more magic than that? And let's not forget that most people then brought Mickey home with them, because Mickey was magic, and there's another little bit of revenue you've driven for your company, all brought to the organization by the housekeeping team at the Disney resorts. So build that magic, understand what your brand has to say, and deliver it at every touch point in your delivery.
You know, one of the things I think people think about when they think about the word brand is their logo and their business card and their website. But today, brand is really equal to the experience they have with your company, end to end. For the first time they hear about you or click through to your website, all the way through when they become a client and reorder ongoing. And people don't tend to understand that all those touch points that you just so beautifully outlined, Julie, are the culmination of the brand experience. And if you could stand in the shoes of your prospects and buyers and see what they're seeing, it's very easy to tweak your program to be more remarkable and subsequently more magic.
Yeah. You know, I said before that customer experience is that internal, subjective feeling people have about engaging with your company or with your brand. And you might think, well, how can I change that internal, subjective feeling? Well, there's plenty you can do, from a magic Mickey doll, from quarterly check-ins to make sure that your clients are having a remarkable experience. There are lots of ways that you can impact that subjective response, because it's really hard for a customer to walk out of Disney and not feel like Mickey was everywhere, magic was everywhere. I remember when I took my children to Disney years ago, I was walking with my eyes down on the carpet, and there was this abstract pattern on the floor, and I noticed that little Mickey ears were everywhere in this little pattern. Everywhere you turn at a Disney resort, they have infused a little magic. So I encourage all of you to consider what would be like to infuse a little magic into your own customer experience.
By the way, Julie, infusing magic into your customer experience is a lot cheaper than an advertising campaign.
So you have happy clients. What's the next step? And why should you care about it? What is it, and why should you care about customer advocacy? If anybody's flown Southwest Airlines, they know that there's a lot of strong customer experience being delivered in their organization. And I kind of love this quote, you know, you have to respect who your customers are, understand who they are, and deliver back on that. So, you know, so back to advocacy as we focus a little bit here. So you have these happy customers, what next? So we have advocacy as a strategy that essentially involves your customers in your own marketing and sales efforts, right? So you want to encourage them to talk about their experiences with your company, and you want to give them that opportunity. You want to have a program built around it. So once you've delivered that remarkable experience, you want to make sure that your clients are having, deriving a lot of value from their engagement with your company. They're satisfied. Now what? As you have heard this, I'm sure you've heard this stat before, 81% of buyers buy online, and they trust their peers more than they trust your marketing. You want to make sure that you are taking the voice of those happy customers that we've all spent all of this time building this experience that they feel motivated to tell a story about, and give them a place to do it, and give them a program in which to deliver it. So, and at the end of the day, it will increase your revenue generation. And we also want to make sure that this advocacy program is making sure that those customers that feel close to you are helping you reduce churn and fostering growth in your revenue. So how do I do it? Well, it's actually not as hard as you would think. Of course, as we've been talking about all this time, delighting customers is job one. Once you make sure that you've done that, you want to motivate them to participate. And this can have a whole bunch of different flavors to it. You can reward them give them rewards. You can gamify their participation and make it fun. Give them little, if I do this, then I get this, and then scale that up into broader and broader advocacy as they're willing to do so. And but most importantly, you want to build a process around their participation. You want to make sure that they understand the pace, what's expected of them. You don't want to make it hard. You don't want to annoy them. You don't want to make it time consuming. It's got to be easy and fun. Eric, can you tell a little bit about what Square 2 does to reward people for referring us?
Well, I don't want to give away any secrets, but we're all friends now here on our webinar, so I will. So, you know the old phrase, hey, thanks so much, I owe you a beer. We kind of built around our referral program. When people refer someone to us, not whether they become clients or not, simply the introduction, we send them a old-fashioned root beer that we take some time to remove the regular labels, and we put our own custom label on it, Square 2 beer. And we put a little note in the box that says, thank you so much for the referral of Mark Johnson. We owed you a beer. Enjoy. And that little 99-cent beer and the effort to make the custom label, put them in the box with the little card in there, gets so much buzz, you wouldn't even believe it. And what people do is they come to appreciate, well, I just made an introduction and I got a root beer. Now, if we get 5 from the same person, then they get a gift certificate to a really nice restaurant. We're really saying thank you in a much larger way. But this is going on the offensive, meaning that we're giving them a gift without them knowing it. There's no like referral program, like refer a friend and get a root beer. It's just being proactive. And of course, as soon as the root beer arrives in their office, everybody's talking about it because it's cute and funny. So little things like that go a long way to say thank you and create some buzz.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing that. You want to make sure that you are rewarding the behaviors that you seek to get. If you're asking someone to spend a few minutes on an online website and write you a review, or if you're asking your prospect to write a testimonial for you, video shoot a testimonial, all those things have a lot of value to your company and help you build trust with your prospects that have yet to jump on a call with you and get to know you a little bit better. And at each step of that engagement, at each step of that behavior, you want to make sure that you have the appropriate rewards in there to help them feel appreciated for the time they've spent building advocacy for your company. And you need to know what you want the results from this advocacy program to be. What are the things that you want to track and measure and drive more success with? Do you want website traffic? Do you want someone to join you in a case study on your website? Do you want to drive leads or marketing qualified leads? Do you want help in the sales process? Do you want someone to be a reference for you once you're like this close to closing the deal? All of those behaviors are the kinds of things that you want to encourage in your happy clients to help you drive more revenue within your organization. I'm going to pass this last section on to Eric to speak about driving revenue.
Yeah, so this is the culmination of our session together today because Julie has laid out a perfect roadmap for you to really start building those relationships with those existing clients. But if they're not spending money, then obviously we're not getting to the finish line. So let's talk a little bit about driving revenue from existing clients. We all know how easy it is to sell to someone who already knows, likes, and trusts you, but yet we seem to always want to have those new prospects in our pipeline. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it really is a balanced approach. The one thing you have to understand is that revenue generation comes from 3 specific areas: marketing, sales, and customer service. And it's important to identify in those 3 areas where you can get a proper amount of revenue so that you can balance your marketing efforts to not only go after new folks, but cross-sell and upsell to the existing folks. If you're, as you can see on the stat here, if you're 60 to 70% more likely to sell to an existing customer, those odds are with you because I don't know too many companies that have a 60 to 70% close rate with new customers. So let's start talking about how we can really connect with our existing customers. The first thing we want to do is we want to make sure that CEOs, right, the folks in our audience today or marketers who work for those CEOs, put a strong emphasis on the existing customers as well as the new customers. So when people come to us, we ask them a whole bunch of questions, right? Because we really want to get under those layers of the onion to find out where the revenue generation opportunities are. The first question I typically ask is, what's your close rate? And in other words, for every 10 people you pitch, how many end up doing business with you? And typically we see close rates of 10 or 20, or if they're really good, 30%. That is a great place to start. They're already getting opportunities, but they're only closing a small share of those. So once again, what's the low-hanging fruit? To Julie's point earlier, if we can make a great sales experience, that's an extension of the marketing experience, we could probably move that sales rate up quite a bit, sales close rate up quite a bit, have less leads and more revenue. But that's usually where it stops. Great, we closed another client, but we have to have this ongoing customer service conversation about what else can we provide for you? The most irritating thing in the world is to hear this from a customer. Oh, I didn't know you guys did that, because most companies don't do a good job of really going deep and developing a relationship with clients, albeit through marketing and in the background, and showing them all the things you can do for them so that they can continue to spend money with your company. And that's a real important factor. Once again, lots of times we'll aim our marketing cannon at an existing database first before we'll start going after new clients, simply because that's the low-hanging fruit, and we could take the revenue and profit generated from the existing clients and invest it in finding some new clients that are similar to those. So once again, I don't want you to pass on one of the thirds that's in a good revenue generation, customer service, or existing relationships. So when you're talking about what can I do? Well, let's start talking to them, right? Email campaigns are simple ways to connect. I'm sorry, Julie, how much does it cost when Square 2 Marketing sends someone an email?
Not much.
Does that fit our budget?
It sure does.
Absolutely, right? Absolutely. So let's start talking about something as simple as email. And I'll also throw in there some social media, right? Because if you think about it, these are easy and cheap ways that you can continue to have a conversation. The strategy should be, okay, I want to have a campaign. I want to think behind, take 10% off your order today only, and think about a campaign that we can have that will really engage people. How can we help them with some kind of new information, new service, and so forth? Once you have the strategy, then you can let it cascade down into the tactical things, right? Maybe we decide to send them 4 emails, 3 days apart each, 1 with some content in the beginning, 2 with some kind of stickier offers in the beginning, and then the last one will be, hey, talk to one of our sales folks for what we've just described to you. That tactic then is a direct result of what our strategy is on what we want to say and what we want to sell. And then once we start executing, we got to look at the third step, which is analytics, right? Is this working or not? How many people are opening up our emails? How many people are clicking through to our new campaign landing page? How many people are clicking on the button that says, talk to a salesperson today? If we don't get those metrics, then we don't know how to improve upon them. And by that, I mean, nobody in the audience today has an unlimited marketing budget. And because we have a very limited marketing budget with subsequent limited resources, we have to know where to apply our resources to get the biggest bang for our buck. So if we're not getting good open rates, let's work harder on our subject lines. If we're not getting click-throughs from our email, let's make more enticing offers that'll get them engaged. And if we're not getting sales opportunities, let's look at some bottom of the funnel or late buyer's journey offers to engage with them from a sales perspective. But we don't know where to focus unless we look at the data.
Sorry.
There you go. So referral marketing is also a great way to engage with your clients when it comes to generating new business or obviously getting more people inside an existing organization to spend money with you, right? But people don't have formalized referral programs. And by referral marketing, there's quite a spectrum. There's as simple as, hey, Julie, really nice to meet you. If you had a great experience, could you recommend me to someone else that might enjoy this, right? Simply asking for it. All the way to the other end of the spectrum, which is, hey, refer your neighbor and get $50 off your next order, and anywhere in between. But the problem with referral marketing is that we're shy to ask for referrals. We don't bake in a system to ask for referrals, and that's where it falls down. At Square 2, my business partner, Mike, we put a little tickler on his calendar 30 days out when a new client signs, that in after their first month to just reach out and check in, see how everybody's doing. And then at that time say, do you know any other people that would enjoy an experience like this? To be honest, he only gets 1 or 2 of those a month, but those are the best leads we can get. They're free and they come with a baked-in testimonial. So think about referral marketing as a great way to engage with existing clients and get a little bit more out of them. And then when we're talking about the referral program, like we talked about earlier, you got to have a strategy and tactics. And we've seen some really creative referral marketing programs over the course of our time here at Square 2. We want to make sure that you always start by standing in the shoes of your client or your prospect. And what do they want? What do they need? You know, lots of times it's not a cute little gift or money. Sometimes it's something in effort or in content that they really would have to help them. And if you stand in their shoes, it becomes evident very quickly what pains you can cure by giving them a gift that will really go a long way. And then based upon that understanding of that, the tactics should match once again. So in some cases, the tactics are something that we never would have guessed. A great example was we had a client and they built these giant radio towers, and the radio towers were getting old. And rather than give them a gift, what we gave them was a free review of their radio towers. Someone came out, told them what was safe, what wasn't safe, when they should fix the little blinking red light on top. And through that great safety analysis, we generated some work as well, because now we have to fix the blinking red light and the little guide wires that hold up the tower. But that was a great peace of mind exercise for these folks who own these radio towers, because they want them to be safe. They don't want them falling down or, God forbid, hurting someone. So once again, that referral program, that gift of a free safety audit went a long way in that specific situation. And finally, we're analyzing everything, right? How many people do we reach out to? How many people engage? How many referrals did we get? And how many of those referrals did we turn into business? So once again, look at the data so we can apply pressure in the areas that need a little bit of help. Now, when you're talking about cross-sell and upsell, this is very interesting. I'll start with a story by a company called Moyer Indoor Outdoor. Here in the Philadelphia area, they're a very large provider of home services. They do everything. HVAC, they'll open and close your pool, they'll fertilize your lawn, and 12 other things. And when they came to us, what was very interesting is that we first did an analysis of their database, and we found that less than 5% of all the customers were using more than one of their home services. So didn't mean to push back on them, but said, hey, look, rather than find new customers, I think a much easier path to revenue would be to cross-sell and upsell to your existing clients. And all we did is introduce them to all the other stuff that Moyer did, and immediately we started to generate some sales. In that case, we set a strategy of really reaching out to each one of those different buckets with a story about another offering that they did. So there was a little bit of complexity there as we figured out who got what story. But then we started to email them. We started to post to social media. We had salespeople say, oh, I see you have a pool in your backyard. Did you know we do this? One of the biggest recipients of new leads for that was their pest control area, because let's face it, anybody that owns a house doesn't have any bugs or mice around their house. And just that simple mention of we do pest control went a long way, because they were already trusting Moyer for other services, and it was an easy upsell and cross-sell. So once again, sales activity, online, emails, and so forth. And we then tracked and we said, well, how many of these, you can go to the next slide, Jewel, how many of these actually worked? And we started to track revenue from existing clients, but in a different service area. And we saw everything go up and to the right. Now, at a certain point, we got the diminishing returns that you will typically get from a campaign. And at that point, we huddled with the client and said, now is the time to go out and find some new customers, because now we'll get a much higher return on investment as opposed to going after our existing customer database. So that's where, once again, the analytics help you make some decisions.
Seems so logical for sure.
So we talked about reviews. Asking for reviews is a really, really big thing. I was sitting in my dentist chair. He knows that I own a marketing company. And while I have 6 things in my mouth, he's asking me questions about marketing. When my service was done and I could talk again, I said to him very simply, here's what I want you to do. I want you to print 500 business cards. And on one side, it's going to say your next appointment is, and on the other side, it's going to be the greatest courtesy you could pay us is the referral of your friends and family. Please post an online review. And we did the logos for Facebook, Google reviews, and I think Yelp was the third one. And I said to him, hand out 500 to these, to the next 500 patients that come in, and tell me how it worked. Well, of course, I came back for my next dental service 3 months later, and he thought I was the smartest guy in the world. And all we did is ask for those reviews. And that's really important because people tend to forget to ask. I love the new software tools that people have now that will automatically generate a request for a review with a link right to the site where they can leave an easy review. And engaging with inexpensive software like that goes a long way. I'm personally involved in a little bit of a renovation project in my home, and all the materials I bought, the first thing I did is I went to the reviews to see if people liked this light fixture or toilet or home automation, something or other, because I wanted to feel safe in my purchase. If someone only had 10 reviews and 7 of them were blah, 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 I just went on to the next product, whether that product was great or not. And that's the impact today using online reviews can have on your business as well. By the way, the analytics are important because you want to push out that we have over 1,600 satisfied clients. That's a big number that makes people feel safe. And as Julie said earlier, they don't sign on the dotted line unless they feel safe. So, Julie, I think you were going to take this the rest of the way home, right?
Absolutely. So you have all heard about our butterfly earlier this week in different sessions with the Square 2 team. Teal and Teal in this particular example is no exception. We have, while our initial time with them focused on all of the buyer journey work that we've talked about to date, you know, they still have a great opportunity to leverage some work with their existing clients and building an advocacy program of their own. And one of the things, you know, when we met them, they didn't have any program for cross-selling or upselling. And it was actually a fairly logical extension for their business as well, because while not every client or potential client has an ongoing internal design need every year, every decade even potentially, but they all have procurement needs, things for their environment that helps freshen things up and tweak style. So we are planning to do an email campaign to their current client base in order to cross-sell those procurement services. In addition to that, they didn't have even though they built these really lovely relationships with their clients, they're charming people. I encourage everybody to meet them someday. They weren't really very systematic about developing a formal referral program. So really just putting a couple of things in place for them to help them define a rewards program and create a rhythm to reach out to their current prospects to make sure that they're sharing those great experiences with their friends and family or colleagues as well. So these are 2 things that are in the planning process to help Teal and team move on and develop some revenue from their existing clients as well. And before we leave today, we're going to jump into a few minutes with a few questions, but I do want to remind people to go back to the website page and download their free ebook, 6 Ways to Generate Revenue from your current customer base. It's right there on the page for you to download and get some of this content in addition to the slide deck after today's session. So, finally, thank you for attending, but I did notice that we had some questions popping in. So I do want to throw some of these questions out there. Eric, you already told us that wonderful story about our root beer program. Because someone did ask, what gifts do you give, money or real gifts? Sometimes you may experience the reality that your clients cannot accept money or gifts. And in that case, we have often made suggestions to our clients. We've done it ourselves where we do charitable giving. Many organizations have a social conscience and want to be a part of being something bigger for the community. So this next question.
Just a quick one. We plant trees actually in a national forest on behalf of our clients because we want the world to be more green. I don't want to give away the secret, but it's really very impactful, but the clients don't realize that the trees are only $10 a piece, but it's really nice. We tell them we plant a tree and we want to grow together. So a simple gift like that, a certificate in their honor that you planted a tree, they won't stop talking about that for a couple of weeks, yeah. I guarantee it.
And it fits so beautifully into our story, right? We want to help them grow their business. So in honor of that new growth, we planted a tree in your honor. It fits in with everything that is important to us and make sure our clients understand what's important there as well. Another question is, most of my clients are large companies and can't give testimonials. What can I do? Eric, have you had that experience?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes larger companies have in their agreements that they can't, or the vendor can't divulge who they're working for, and that's fine. We understand that. I don't think people realize that you only need a half a dozen testimonials sprinkled throughout your website and your marketing to really validate what you're saying. So most companies can find 3, 4, 5, 6 people that'll go on record and saying that this company is great. And I think that that's where people get a little overwhelmed because they think they have to have hundreds and hundreds of reviews. A few key testimonials are fine. The second tier from that is that you can't use their name and their company name. Well, you could say, Mary P from a Fortune 500 company. It's not as powerful, obviously, but it still goes a long way to show that people are talking about you, even if you can't divulge their information. But once again, be very modest. Start with 1 or 2. Also, something you can do is bake into the initial sales conversation. Hey, our company relies on referrals. We would hope that you would agree to do a testimonial should we do the work that we're promising to do. So set the table right from the front that testimonials are expected of your new clients.
Someone asked about negative reviews that are not our fault. Is there anything I can do about that?
Well, yes, there's quite a bit they could do about it. 1, read them. 2, stop blaming other people. 3, sit down with your staff and really look at their reviews and take to heart the commentary they're giving. When someone's giving you a 2 out of 5 review, it's not to hurt you. It's to communicate to you that they didn't have a good experience with the hope that you'll be better. So once again, I find that there's a lot of gold or a lot of nuggets in those reviews. And if you start to make a list, you'll start to see some themes. Like they talked about Mary, the crabby person who is doing the intake at the car dealership. If you hear that 6 times, 1, have a talk with Mary. And 2, if it doesn't have any chance of improvement, let's find Mary a different position and put someone else in there. And now our reviews will naturally go up because we listened and we made changes. And I think that's really important. Sometimes there's hidden gems in there as well. Something that you might never have thought about that your customer thought about while they were giving you a review. And that sometimes can lead to a whole new offering or something remarkable that you could do or a change in messaging. We call it reading the tea leaves. So take some time to really go through all those reviews and then take to heart the advice that folks are giving you.
Excellent. One question is, how do you feel about advocacy marketing software like Influitive?
I love Influitive. Actually, Influitive is the software that gamifies the advocacy that Julie talked about before. Problem is, like anything else in software, it requires an investment and an installation. My advice to clients who want to use software for that is do the manual stuff first. Get reviews, look at the reviews, start to make some changes around that. And then when you get to the level where, once again, you're ready for that next step, install Influitive, gamify, and engage your clients and take it to that next level. But, if you don't do the grassroots work first, you're missing an opportunity to not spend money and still improve your business.
Yeah, and I would imagine there's a bit of a numbers game to the whole reviews solution anyway. If you are actively working to get positive reviews, at some point you can outweigh make those old negative reviews a history and start building up a positive review base that outweighs the negative commentary out there. We have
time for one more, Julie.
There's one more. There's a couple more, but I think this one's a really interesting one and might have some interest for our viewers. I sell through distributors and don't know the end user. How can I do referral marketing?
That's very interesting. Okay, so that's a challenge because you don't know who's actually using your products. You're selling a pallet of your product to some distributor somewhere, and then individuals are walking in and buying it, and you don't know who they are. So a couple of different things. 1, you can engage with the distributors to execute your referral marketing program. When the cashiers see that someone is buying this product, reach underneath, put one in their bag that says, by the way, if you refer a friend because you bought our Gorilla Glue or whatever, that's one way to do it. But what I like is using packaging. And what I mean by that is that if you build in some QR codes or a little website address on your packaging that says, if you really like this, check out our website. You could give them a coupon, you could give them a follow-up email that will help them refer to a buddy or a friend or something like that. The challenge is that when you sell through distributors, you have one channel that you're selling to and you're pushing your product through. But when you look at it from the end users, it's quite expensive and arduous to set up a whole other marketing campaign to attract the people to come in and buy your Gorilla Glue through those distributors. So it sometimes becomes a little price prohibitive to do that other kind of marketing program. And that's why little things and changes in your packaging or a slip in the box goes a long way. And I'll end with this one final example. Everybody knows that the company Bose does those great noise canceling headphones that people wear on airplanes. And they are just the coolest. And they have that little red light so you know that it's working. And what happens is when you buy a set of those Bose noise canceling headphones, in the box comes 10 little referral cards. And the top card says, people are going to ask you on your next airplane trip, where you got these, hand them this card. So they're already pre-thinking by including 10 referral cards in the packaging that they're going to facilitate those referrals, because everybody says those headphones are cool. Where'd you get them? Here you go. And then you're ready to go. And that's a really simple way, and obviously cheap because we're just printing little business cards to really kind of get that referral marketing going, even though Bose is sold through retailers and not directly to end users. So a bit of a challenge there, but with a little bit of effort and creativity, you can crack that nut, Julie.
Yeah, control what you have control over. That's great. That's great. So that brings us to the end of our session. Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you for everybody for joining us today. Please do head back to the website page for your content, for a copy of this presentation, and thank you again for attending today.
Bye-bye.
Bye.